Welcome to 30 Minutes Promoting Unity in Diversity with Wani Angerer in Moving Cultures. Today, evening time for my guests and morning hours in Bangkok, Thailand. We are embracing solidarity, we are embracing diversity, we are embracing the global family. And we are saying no to injustice, no to intolerance, no to racism, no to any kind of negativity that gets in our way to celebrate together. Our guest, number 220, is a woman who can do everything. And I'm telling you because I have witnessed this. She's a reference of change. She's also a reference of humanity and compassion. She has been traveling the world, delivering a message of entrepreneurship, empowerment, and also celebration of business with a very human face. And her name is Virginia Campo. She is from Colombia and raised in Panama and at the moment based in the United States. Virginia, qué lindo verte, bienvenida. How are you?
Wani, what a beautiful intro. Really, you made me tear up. I'm great. I am so happy and excited that, this brings us together after so many years, almost 8 years.
8 years.
8 years since we met, and a lot has changed and happened. So I'm very glad that you thought of me.
Always, Virginia. You know, you're very close to my heart. Even my project Ponchos Guanaira was actually started with you in this trip that we have in Naivasha, in a very cold festival, and realizing how a product can be transformed into something different. So it's very difficult not to have you in my mind all the time, Virginia. So please take us by the hand on your journey. What happened in the past years, what is happening now, and what are you preparing for the future? But before, let us know who is Virginia Campo.
For sure, Wani. So I think Virginia Campo is a dreamer, a world citizen. You mentioned it. We are a global family, and I truly believe that that is who I am, is part of who I am. I am a woman. I am now a wife. I am an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur as well. I think, like, giving you a little bit of context of my upbringing and kind of like my journey. I have, well, I was born in Colombia, like you mentioned. I left when I was young. I lived in Canada. A lot of people don't know this, for 2 years. And that actually was my first exposure to diversity and to culture. A lot of people don't know this, but Canada is actually a melting pot. I would dare to say even more than the US, because it's so evident. So that was my first exposure to culture, to different colors, to different races, to different smells. And that was also, it marks to me a moment where I realized that I wanted this part of my life of always being curious around cultures, religions, people. Where do people come from, and why do people go different places? So I think Canada was a huge pivotal moment in my life, because I was sharing a school with kids I had never seen in my life before, which were from India, from Poland, from Portugal, etc. Then I moved to Panama, complete opposite. And in Panama is where I was raised. So that's where I've spent most of my teenage and adult years. And Panama, even though it's also quite international because of its canal, it's not super diverse like what I was living in. But Panama, I think, gave me a lot of interesting parts of who I am as well. I think it made me very proud of being Colombian. Made me more, I think it made me even more entrepreneurial, because Panama, being such a small country, is a country where making things is easier. You can start a business in an easier way. You have bigger networks because you get to know everyone because it's such a small country. So it made me, I think, very sociable. It expanded my networks, and it made me think that anything was possible. And that's, I think that kind of springboards the rest. But I think my movements, or my parents moving us at a young age, really shaped who I am. And the last thing I'll mention is that one of the things that why Panama is so important to me, is because Panama was the first time I was exposed to the different, to the discrepancies, if you may, or the gaps of women right next door to me, right? So I had an education, I spoke English, I had traveled the world, and I was able to meet a group of women that inspired me to create a nonprofit about women empowerment. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's also very much who I am, because I am all about women empowerment. And I know I've been blessed and privileged in so many ways. And I know that part of my mission in this life is to give back and to empower other women to have access to the opportunities that I've had.
Virginia, I think the influence of your parents in your life, and also your grandparents and your family, has given you the opportunity to move very quickly from one ambience and also educational field to the other, because you started at a very early age your career. That is not very common, and also you graduated very early. And how is that feeling of being always the youngest one among a lot of adults, and being taken seriously, because we're also dealing here with an age gap?
Yes.
And generational controversies as well, because they might think that you're too young to be taking serious decisions.
Yeah, great point, Wani. And so one thing that is very interesting is that I think that mentality of me thinking that anything was possible does come from my parents. So I call my parents my personal cheerleaders, because everything that I said I wanted to do, they would be like, yeah. And I never really grew up saying, like, hearing, no, you can't, you're too young, or no, you can't, we don't have the means. It was like, so we don't have the means, we want you to do that, so let's look for options. Which was, for example, what happened when I wanted to go study in the US and they couldn't afford it. But they did everything in their power to help me find options and to help me find scholarships. So I think definitely my upbringing, my parents always empowering me to think that money or my age or my gender weren't barriers. So I never had those things as barriers. I just thought I was able to do anything. And I think that's what kind of started me. So like you said, I did start my career super young. Actually, I was 18. I graduated college, and in Panama, we graduated in December, and I wanted to go to university. Sorry, I graduated high school, not college. I wanted to go to a university in the US, which doesn't start till August, September. So I had 6 to 8 months that most people took off, traveled, had a lot of free time, enjoyed. I decided that I wanted to work in the UN because that was my dream. So my dream was to be a diplomat, wanting like a bit of your life. And I wanted to work in the UN and help people and travel the world. And I was like, well, Panama has the Latin American regional headquarters here. I'm going to go try to get an internship or a volunteer with them. And I literally printed, my mom helped me print my CV at that time, which was a page of me saying I was part of the debate club. I volunteered here and there because I had no work experience. I was 18. And then I went to the City of Knowledge, where the headquarters are, door to door with my CV, and I handed out my CV, and there was the receptionist of the World Food Program thought I was the cutest thing. And she's like, let me call HR. And they moved me to HR, and I met the lady in HR. Her name's Gina. I'm never gonna forget her because she was the one that opened the first professional door to me. And same thing, she was in shock that, an 18-year-old had a CV and was coming and saying, I want to volunteer. And she's like, we do need help. And then I started as a volunteer in the World Food Program. And when I started, they placed me in the vulnerability and assessment mapping unit. And my job was actually super important. I had to collect all the news around disasters and emergencies around the region. And it so happened that 2 months after I started, we had the Haiti earthquake. I don't know if you remember this one. It was in 2008.
Yes.
And they needed somebody to volunteer at 2 a.m. every day to consolidate the news and do this thing that we call the situation report. And I was like, me. And they gave me that opportunity. I was a volunteer. I had only been there for 2 months, but I just showed proactive energy. I showed interest. And I think that's what made me throughout my career, made people forget my age and just took into account my desire to learn and to give and to provide results and to be part, to belong. So yeah, fast forward, I ended up doing 2.5 years in the UN in World Food Program, and then I moved to the Food and Agriculture Organization. When I graduated university, I left the UN with already 2.5 years of experience in where I wanted to work. And it was all because of that, because I showed that I genuinely wanted to learn. And I still till this day say that in the UN is where I really learned to be a professional. Is what gave me, the framework that I use in everything that I've done.
Virginia, it's great to hear that message from you. So everyone who is listening to this conversation can understand that if you get inserted the sense of prosperity, everything can happen. If you from early age are motivated and also guarantee the possibility to do things without doubt, without making you feel unworthy, like your parents did with you, that's the kind of attitude you're going to deliver. You're always going to find a solution, and you're going to confront diversity with a positive attitude. Of course, in life we always are confronted with adversity, but it's how we deal with it what is important. Please tell us what is happening now. What are you working on?
Yeah, Winnie. So my journey took me a lot of places. One of them to Kenya, which is where I met you, right? And I think one thing that stayed constant throughout my career has been my desire, again, to give back and be very entrepreneurial and intrapreneurial. Like I either start something or I start something in someone else's company. So I am now doing exactly that. I am living in the US, and I am now a US resident. And I felt for the first time very disconnected to LATAM, to our region, to Latin America. And I said, I, of course, have a huge door open of any job in the US. As Latinos, we think the US is, the American dream. And I decided, instead of applying to jobs in the US, I applied to a job connected to Latin America.
Yeah, fantastic.
that lets me be anywhere.
Yeah.
Because I said, what do I want in my next career move? And I wanted to give back to the region, to work with entrepreneurs or with community. Actually, I wanted to work with community. And then this job landed in my doorstep, literally a friend came to my house and said, Virgie, my friends are starting this. They have this job. You know so many people. If you know of anybody. And I said, me. And I said, but I want to apply. I don't like palanca. And I applied, and then she put in a good word and I got hired. And I'm right now leading programs and community for Latitude. So what we're building Latitude, we have people from all over here listening, but it's in the there's a company called Y Combinator, and it's like an accelerator for startups, and they've accelerated and funded the biggest startups in the US, like Airbnb, like WhatsApp, the biggest you can think of came out of Y Combinator. We're pretty much building that one for Latin America. All eyes are on us right now. Funding is flowing to LATAM. More entrepreneurs are coming out of the region. We already have 41 startups that are unicorn status, meaning evaluated for more than $1 billion.
Wow.
3 years ago, we had 2. So the growth of the region is crazy. And I wanted to be part of that action, and I am. So we're building online education programs for entrepreneurs, founders, anywhere from idea stage to what we call product market fit. So already have a product, they're testing it, they already have customers, and they're about to scale it. And it's been super fun, super amazing. But one thing that I wanted to mention here, because this is the topic of our meeting, is what are we doing regarding diversity and breaking the biases? And one sad reality that I'm observing is, yes, our region is booming, opportunities are coming, money and investment is flowing, but the numbers still don't look good. In a cohort of 100 people, we get around 1,000 applicants, and we can barely make 20, meaning 20% of the applicants be women. And the numbers of like underrepresented founders, meaning founders of color, indigenous founders, or founders with special abilities, or founders that are identified with the LGBTQ community, almost non-existent. So that's kind of like what I'm right now spearheading is trying to get more women founders, starting with gender, and our aim is to have a 50-50 gender balanced programs. That's not the reality right now, but we are working on that.
Virginia, it's about possibilities, or it's about opportunities? Why we are having this lack of representation in Latitude? So what is it that is not making the quotes more meaningful?
It's a bit of everything. So first, I used to work, when I met you, Ani, I used to work with base of the pyramid entrepreneurs. So funny, it was still entrepreneurs, but it was the women in the market of Kenya, right, in Nairobi, selling carbon, selling coal.
Yes.
Here, we are looking for entrepreneurs that are starting the next tech startups. An example, Rappi, Mercado Libre, that were the first unicorns of our region, startups that took over regionally and are the Amazons, the Ubers of region, right? So what happens that, one, you do need a certain privilege. You need to speak English to raise money. You need to be able to run and have the leadership and the empowerment to run a business that can be huge, right? With over 1,500 people, global or regional. So I think it's a lack of empowerment, of opportunities, of exposure, and I think we've made in the region progress on having more equity in the workspace. So having and training, empowering more professional women. But there's a difference between women in the workforce and women that want to be entrepreneurs, not for survival. I think we have a huge community of women entrepreneurs that are survival entrepreneurs, that if they don't start something, their family doesn't eat. But this is more women in tech, huge gap. So I think that's the problem, right? So it's a bit of everything. It's access to opportunities, the empowerment that women need to say, yes, I'm going to start the Uber of Latin America. Yes, I'm going to start the Google of Latin America.
Virginia, I have the feeling that this also has to do a lot with the business culture. That usually in business, at the macro level, there is very few women settle. And like you say, if we combine technology plus business and entrepreneurship, it becomes even more complex, you know, to actually find women that see the world as a home-based business, you know, like you do it, because that's it. It's like you're at home, but you are running a multicultural, international, global project, even though you are working in Latin America. So without losing perspective that your markets are all over the world.
Yeah. It's I think at the end of the day, it's a little bit of intimidation, and it's another very clear thing that we see is like the money that's being raised right now. We're seeing startups that haven't even operated for a year raising $10 million for a seed round. This used to never happen. And again, it's usually led by men, and women on a seed stage are raising 1 million, 2 million. So it's still a lot, right? So like we're still happy and excited that there's funding for women startups, but it's not equitable. It's not the same. And I do think is what you're saying is un poquito is the imposter syndrome that we tend to have of, am I capable? And we all know, and I think another one is that entrepreneurship, and especially this kind of entrepreneurship, like you said, at a very global macro tech level, where there's volume, can be very intimidating, and can be also, it becomes your baby, and there's the other biological reasons, right, that women still want to, women don't only play a role in a workspace, they play a role in a home. And so I think it's a mix of a lot of things. Being an entrepreneur can be very rewarding, but also it takes a lot of sacrifices. And I don't know if that might be the turnoff for women, because they're like, I want to be part of a startup, but I'd rather work for one versus starting one, because that means I have the security of a paycheck, and I have a family to support. So it's a mix of things. We'll see, as we've only been around for a year, and I've only been around in Latitude for 6 months. So we're just starting to learn and understand how we can be more relevant players in providing also opportunities for diverse founders.
Virginia, can you give us some insight of your work, some images or some information that people can follow and actually understand how they can reach you, or who is suitable for this kind of project, for example?
Yes, I'm gonna quickly share. So this is Latitude. You can go to latitude without an e.com. And when you click programs, you can see all of our different programs. And then again, like anybody who has a business, even if it's on the idea stage, we have a program for you. If you're growing it, meaning you're already raised money, you're about to scale your operations to a new country, or regionally, or you're launching a new product, you can join Build. If you're interested in being an angel investor, for example, all the women that are investors that want to give back to founders, women founders, or any founders, with incredible ideas on maybe something that you're interested in, we have a program for you too. And we also are going to be launching our talent programs with Wani. I do think that here we're going to achieve a lot more equity, at least in gender, because we are also realizing that a lot of people want to leave corporate world, like go from a PGN, PGE, PNG. I'm blanking. Procter and Gamble, PNG, I think it is. I know in Spanish. Procter and Gamble or a Philips, and come join a small startup where they can have a leadership role, and where their work is more impactful. So we're going to start creating also programs for talent, and who can apply. Honestly, anyone that's either a founder of a startup looking to invest in startups, or looking to work in startups as well. And this is what you need to do, and just come to the website, find the right program, and you apply. That's it.
Okay.
Now,
Super.
regarding staying in touch with me or reaching out, I think the best way, professionally, if you want to reach out professionally, is through LinkedIn, which is my name, Virginia Campo. And then if you want to reach out more socially, or follow me and my journey, because Wani mentioned I do travel a lot, and you can explore kind of the places I go and the people I meet. Instagram would be the best, and my Instagram is Virgi Campo 12.
Fantastic. Let's get some of those images of your journey and your traveling. Okay, this is our first photo. Where is this photo taken, Virginia?
That was in Bali.
Okay.
So, yes, in Indonesia.
I noticed the palm trees on the back end. Was curious. Okay, then tell us about this time working in Selina.
Yes, that was in Thailand. There was a conference in Chiang Mai, Thailand, called the Nomad Summit in 2018, and I was one of the speakers, and I spoke about becoming an entrepreneur. So going from being an entrepreneur in Selina, which was a hospitality startup that I worked as VP of people, and I did HR. So I had a HR moment of my life as well. And I was trying to start a tech startup in 2018 called Gig Nomads. I was not successful. So that's another reason why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing with Latitude right now, Wani, because the reason I was not successful in 2018 is because it was not the right moment. There was no money, there was no capital, and I had to invest my own capital to create something. And I had no support. I had no networks. I had no one to go ask questions to and get advice, get mentorship. And that's what we're building in Latitude. So, and that was me talking about going from working in a startup and being an entrepreneur to an entrepreneur.
Right. And this is related to what we discussed at the beginning of the conversation, that you always learn from adversity. You always see the message behind. So what's happening here?
This is in Myanmar. That is a beautiful place called Bagan. And I was just, that was 2019, right before the pandemic. I was spending a lot of time in Southeast Asia and just doing amazing journeys, exploring also a lot like my spiritual side. That is also in Bali. So that was a photo shoot. Actually, that was super amazing because I got asked to do a photo shoot. I'm nowhere close to being a model, by the way. That was like the first time I'm asked to be in a photo shoot. But it was a brand. It was the clothes that I was representing here, really. And it was a brand for women, professional women. in Bali. So the owner was a Balinese, and she was trying to target other independent entrepreneurial business women. And so she asked me to be part of this photo shoot, and that's me.
Yeah, very beautiful, Virginia. And it really
Yeah.
represents you. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too. It was he wanted to capture kind of like my business acumen mixed with my chill
Yeah,
entrepreneurial nomad life.
yeah, your essence. And this is
Yeah,
fantastic. It's perfect. This is beautiful.
that is India. So that's in the Taj Mahal. And same, that was 2019. Like I was mentioning, I had a year where I spent all year pretty much in Asia. And I did a lot of like spiritual journeys. And India was a super powerful one. I had just gotten off a plane from Mumbai, where I did a 10-day meditation and silence retreat.
Okay.
And my first stop after that was here, Taj Mahal.
So you did a Vipassana.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, let's go.
And then this is more recent. This is already my life here in the US. I'm living in Miami right now, but I was living in California for the last year and a half during the pandemic. And so I got married to a Californian, and we landed in the desert. It's called Joshua Tree, and it's also a very, very magical place. And it was the right place to be during the pandemic, because it was a place that almost it wasn't impacted. There was so much space and so much nature that we could breathe and go out and spend time in nature.
Virginia, this photo, I don't know why did I have the feeling there was like in Soweto, South Africa, because of that construction. There is a lot of elements that brought me to Soweto, to South Africa. I don't know why. Let's see.
That's Hawaii. And that was exactly a year ago for our honeymoon. So we are a pandemic marriage. So we had to have like a Zoom wedding. We still haven't had a real wedding because honestly, it got so complicated. Like you can imagine, Wani, right now planning anything is so stressful. So we had a Zoom wedding, and then we couldn't really travel anywhere. So we had to wait 6 months, and then we decided to go to Hawaii for our honeymoon. So this is in Hawaii.
Beautiful.
That's also in Hawaii, but this is a different island. So this is the Big Island, which is the volcanic island. And this is actually
like lava. Yeah.
That's lava. Yeah. So that's in the Volcano National Park. That is also in the Big Island in Hawaii. So you can see how the lava and the lava rock is like everywhere in the
overtaking the sand.
Yeah. And that's Joshua Tree. So that's the desert. And you can see, I mean, imagine living there during the pandemic. It was truly a blessing how we stumbled upon, and the desert has marked a lot of important beginnings as well. It was like the beginning of my marriage. It was also the first time I bought a property. So it's funny because it's like the desert is probably the last place I would have chosen to live or to buy anything, but it became actually the land of opportunities for me and my husband.
Great. So this photo is one of the last ones, and for me is you, Virginia, on top of the world.
Thank you, Wani. Yeah, so this is our 1-year anniversary, and for our 1-year anniversary, this is really funny, right? Because I've traveled all over the world. I've been to 64 countries. That's double my age, because that was my goal. I always wanted to go to twice as many countries as my age. And of course, it's our 1 year anniversary, our honeymoon, same thing. I wanted to like go to Australia, something crazy, something I haven't been, but I couldn't. One, because of COVID, and two, because I was getting my papers. So I was restricted to the US. And we forget the US is huge. So thank God it was a huge country, you know. But here I was like, what do we do for a 1 year anniversary? And we went to Chicago. And a lot of people are like, Chicago, like why would you go to Chicago out of everywhere else in the US? It was actually amazing.
The
We
Sears
loved
Tower.
it. This is exactly, so this is from one of the highest towers in Chicago, and you can see all of Chicago below you. So yeah,
Fantastic. Very beautiful. So this is Latitude logo, right?
yes,
Tell us a little bit about the design.
it's like a ship. Oh my gosh, how do you say vela?
The
Sailboat.
velero, yes, sailboat.
Yeah. And it's because we believe that, so we say rising tides lift
Mhm.
all boats.
Mhm.
So that's what we think that Latin America is going through right now. We are getting a marea alta, and we need to make sure we're ready to navigate the opportunities that are coming. So that's kind of like the story behind the logo.
And you know, it also resembled the unicorn horn in the middle and climbing a mountain outside. So it has a lot of powerful imaginario. Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed that. So yeah, and you see it on like our website and social media, like we are trying to like take people on a journey as well. So
Mhm.
that's why we chose that, and that's the story behind.
Virginia, we already raised the 30 minutes of our conversation. Will you please give us a message regarding inclusion, participation, and diversity?
um I think the best thing I can say, and because I have, you know, I'm very knowledgeable and aware that I do, even though I'm Latina, mujer, joven, young woman, I never let that stop me. I never saw those as barriers. I never saw those as disadvantages. I saw those and turned those into advantages. Um, and uh, and I think that's the best advice I can give. It's like, you're of color. Don't see that as something that's a disadvantage. See it as your essence. So how are you going to master it, and how are you going to use it of service to the world? um you have a different uh, sexual orientation, same thing. Like, how are you going to use your struggle and everything that you've lived to empower others to not go through the same? So I see this as special powers instead of boundaries, instead of barriers. And I think that when you see it that way, and when you flip it, then like all these doors and all these opportunities open.
Virginia, thank you so much for inserting into our life this prosperity mindset that is a strong characteristic of yourself. I know you, and you're always so positive, and you always know that you're gonna reach the way that you have already visualized. Everything in your life is about visualization. And it's great to know how all these difficult situations and all these blessed situations at the end of the day are the same, like you are mentioning, because it's the same nature. You know, if we hate, we can love. You know, if we have certain capacities, we cannot have them the next day. So it's about understanding that celebration, it is in your soul, in your mind, in your heart, and in your physical body. Thank you so much, Virginia. I embrace you once again,
Thank you,
sending you a
Juan.
lot of love from Thailand, and hopefully one day we'll be able to embrace physical. Musical kisses.
I think.
Keep it
Bye,
up.
Wani. Thank you so
Okay.
much for having me.
Thank
Take
you for
care.
coming. Bye-bye.